back should your opponent survive your initial onslaught, which is a pretty big ask against a lot of decks, though not Dimir Bounce.
Which of these decks do you like here, Monty?
Well, Scott lost to Gruul Aggro in the finals of Spotlight Foundations, but even so, I'm going to go with the Bounce deck. I think it has a bit of an edge in the matchup.
All right, well, we've been highlighting players this round who all did very well at Spotlight Foundations. You head to one of these Spotlight events, you can find yourself here at the Pro Tour. Alien Corey, take it away.
Thank you so much, Maria. It is indeed standard time here at the Pro Tour. Corey Baumeister alongside myself, Ailey Loney, here at the booth for you, friends. And we're going to see basically a grudge match of sorts.
Yeah, kind of. The finals, Scott did fall to the Leyline version. Definitely a different deck. But yeah, the bounce deck should be favored against Gruul, so Scott looking to get some revenge for sure.
I would say so because, if I remember that finals correctly, it was a bit of a slaughter. So
it was.
Scott is going to do his best to find all the pieces of interaction that the desk were mentioning, to try and kill all these critters before they kill him.
Yep, absolutely. And I talked to Scott, I was talking to him at the player party yesterday, and didn't want to play Esper, just wanted to stay to his tried and true Dimir strategy, even though Esper is what he thought was maybe even better for his words, but just really wanted to play what he was, what he knows, and still thinks the deck is quite strong.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was him and his team who iterated on the bounce deck and basically decided, okay, no white cards.
Exactly. I think it was round 5 or something at that Spotlight Foundations where I saw his list and I was like, wow, this looks incredible. He started 5-0. I was really, really impressed with it and ended up to do some great things.
Nice.
And made quite the splash after this event for sure.
I mean, yeah, all these players that we're featuring in this matchup did very well at Spotlight Foundations.
Yep.
So if you want to do the same, come to the next Spotlight events. Go check out when they are, and hope to see you there.
It was a ton of fun.
It was
commentating that one with you. We saw all 8 players obviously being so excited to make it to the top 8 there. Go straight to the Pro Tour.
Hell yeah. Spyglass Siren gets itself a counter. We have the Hard Claw down on the... Oh boy, that's a lot of lizards making their presence known here for Matt Sikkink Johnson.
Yeah, that was an interesting play there because Matt could have just attacked with a Hired Claw and left up 2 mana, and then the Spyglass Siren was not going to be able to block. But instead, you get in 1 extra point of damage, but you lose a Claw. So an interesting play for sure. But Scott on the other side does not hit land 3 after surveilling or after cracking the map.
It's not where Scott wants to be at all against an aggressive deck that seems to have a pretty good hand there if we take a peek at Matt Sikkink Johnson's grip. Torch the Tower, Challenger, Overprotects, and Screaming Nemesis with a tap land. So if he can find an untapped land, then he's in business. Okay, Torch the Tower. I'm gonna try and take out the Siren.
So Scott now has the choice of This Town Ain't Big Enough, kind of the namesake card of this tournament that we're going to be seeing a lot of, and bouncing a Hired Claw, something like that. Not the best thing to be doing, so I agree with this. Get Nowhere to Run down and hopefully draw a land so Scott can start doing some tricks where he can bounce his own Nowhere to Run and start dealing with Matt's creatures.
So the lizard problem is being contained here by one Scott McNamara. And for turn... where does he go? Over here. Gonna go with Storm Chaser's Talent. This combos so nicely with This Town Ain't Big Enough.
Absolutely.
And for players who have not seen the combo, Corey, how does it work?
Yeah, so whenever you have This Town Ain't Big Enough, you get Storm Chaser's Talent down. If it's in the graveyard, you level it up to level 2, bring it back to your hand, then bounce the talent, a permanent of your opponent's, or just 2 things of yours, and that will just continuously loop. It, of course, is a very mana-hungry combo, but it just leads to so much inevitability from these bounce house decks, whether it be Dimir or Esper, and it really shows the power of these 2 decks as you just never run out of something to do.
Yeah, it's crazy. And being the aggressive player on the other side, you kind of just get so frustrated because they just do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, it is very, very difficult. And now we're going to see a big Spell Pierce here. With the Innkeeper's Talent, there was going to be the possibility of adding Ward here. Now, the one reason why cards like Overprotect, Snakeskin Veil, stuff like that has kind of fallen out of favor is the extra text on Nowhere to Run shuts down all of those abilities. So this is kind of the reason why this is a bad matchup. But Standard is so close, it's bad by like 5–10%
Yeah.
at most, you know.
Your turn.
You know, there's no overwhelmingly good deck in this format, and I think that's a wonderful, you know, compliment to the designers of each
Yeah.
of these sets, because they've all kind of meshed nicely together. And we see a couple of cards from Aether Drift make it into Ride's End, I believe, is the most played card
Yep.
from the set.
Yep.
And, you know, Spell Pierce as well, just helping out Matt Sikkink Johnson there.
Yeah, Ride's
Or,
End,
excuse me, helping out Scott McNamara there.
Ride's End or pairing with Up the Beanstalk is a match made in heaven, to say the
yes.
least.
That card got snapped up.
I'm going to bounce the challenger. And my
This town ain't big enough for the both of us. So let's get some removal back. Let's get that challenger off the board, leaving just the lizard there for Matt.
I'm going to take 2 here. Or yeah.
Deciding if Matt wants to pump to make it 3
Well, so-
here.
Well, yeah, okay. So 3 total, right? 3 total. Yeah, so I'm at 12. Okay.
Down to 12 he goes. Turn passes back now to Scott.
And I want to say
Let's see.
Scott had a go for the throat as well, so had the option to just kill the challenger.
Oh man, I think it might be time to say goodbye to an otter.
Play, I know where to run.
Nope. All right. Kaito
I'll take it too.
in hand, no 4th land to get Enduring Curiosity out there, so just deciding get rid of the threat on the board and get in for 2 with the otter.
So now Matt does have the option of using that overprotect kind of aggressively here
Yeah.
to get a trigger off the challenger. And you know, the protect side of it is not that great with nowhere to run in play, but it does still protect it in the sense of if you give it -3/-3 and you give it, you know, in response you give it +3/+3, that'll protect it. But
There's at least one way to work around nowhere to run, which has been super impressive since
Yep.
Duskmorn's printing.
so now Scott has a lot of option. It's definitely in the driver's seat here. You know.
Yeah.
Always has the ability to level up the talent, buy back. This town ain't big enough. Keep that going. We're not going to see that with only 4 mana available, but I like this passing with Enduring Curiosity and go for the throat available
Yeah. So
if there's
2
any
options.
shenanigans afoot.
Thornspire Verge. Now it seems like we're in the flood part of Matt's game 1 here, unfortunately. So
One thing Matt can do is animate this Soulstone Sanctuary and then have Overprotect available once it attacks.
yeah,
Which could be a big deal if we have this Curiosity. Okay.
right. Gonna do exactly that on the mouse to make sure that
6, so 3 here.
I should exile my
Sure,
card.
yes. Okay.
So 6 damage
total,
coming in.
I'm 4.
Yep.
Sure
And the
is.
Curiosity goes away, but now it does enter the mode of just hanging around to be able to get some card advantage going.
that's exactly what it says on the card.
Yes.
Hang around.
Just hang around. And the one thing about Matt's list that we were talking about, you know, in the intro is there's no burst lightning. You know, nothing like that to be able to have some reach here. Matt does have to win the game through these creatures,
Yeah.
which I do like, to be fair. I think it is a good way to build these decks.
Having
Ridge
something
line.
to interact with Scott's board here would be ideal. Restless Ridgeline available for Matt.
Okay, thank you.
Sitting at 13, so he's at a very healthy life total, and Scott, not so much, sitting at 4.
Yeah. And here's the spot. You know, we have the Underground River, and Scott's mana base is still kind of painful here, as if he wants to go with Ninjutsu Kaido and go for the throat something, which is, you know, his only options right now.
Yeah.
We'll have to take a damage for that. So, yeah, in a rough spot here for sure.
You know, and also hasty threats available from Matt too, so this is a tough spot for Scott.
Yeah, this is one of those games where it's like, okay, Scott can maybe hang on, and then if at any point Matt draws, you know, kind of the namesake card of Monstrous Rage,
Yeah.
the game just ends on the spot.
Screaming Nemesis, you know,
Yeah.
Emberheart Challenger, any of these threats just would end the game on the spot, so.
Sometimes
And no matter what has a threat
Mm-hmm.
with the other creature land, so that go for the throat is already going to have to be aimed at that at the beginning of combat, and then Scott's going to go to 1 on board already.
Oh, jeez.
Or Kaido will fall, depending on Matt's choice, so there is a brick.
That's right. The stun counter should be up.
Gruul Smash. We don't go
Sure.
planeswalkers here, Corey.
Before we go to attack, so I'm going to take a point off on the ground river and go for the throw of the ridge.
Ouch. Ugh. Alrighty.
And I want to say, I don't think Scott drew a card from dealing damage there. I could be wrong, though. Could have missed it.
Off Kaito.
Yeah, off the Enduring Curiosity.
Oh, yes, right.
essentially, yeah.
You may have missed that. If it's Drowner,
A
okay.
great draw.
That's excellent. Huh. We're still not at the position where we can bring back... No, excuse me, this town ain't big enough.
No, not yet. So I would think at this point, one of the main options is you can start by just attacking with Kaito
Yeah.
and not pumping it, and just seeing, okay, if Scott were to draw like another Flood Pit Drowner, then you're like, all right, tick
Yeah,
up, I feel safe, no problem. And if you don't find anything, you get to do some surveilling or tick up, you know.
Yeah.
It looks like we saw another talent out of those two
Graveyard
cards.
one, top of the other. Draw.
Okay.
So right now, Scott can just drop 2 Storm Chasers talent, gets 2 Otter Blockers, and have a Flood Pits Drowner.
Siren.
Okay.
Or I guess it was a Spyglass Siren, but still great.
That's still good, yeah. A blocker, a Drowner, the ability to explore with a map, or get the talent down.
Yeah.
I'll map here.
And Scott knows that there's no, you know, way to deal damage to the face
Yeah.
to just win straight outright. So I
No
mean,
gotchas.
this looks like Scott has every draw, you know, dealt with for
Yeah.
now.
Play another talent.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Play land for turn.
Jesus. That was a turn.
Great turn.
Wow. All right, Scott. Cool.
So like even Screaming Nemesis, you would think that would be your best draw, but you just get to drown
it
that.
just sits. It just gets made to sit, and there's, you know, 2 blockers for the challenger.
Yep.
The land is dead. The creature land for Matt. Heartfire Hero. There's no way to sacrifice it. Before
Yeah.
combat, Drowner is just going to tap down.
And remember that level 2 thing that's always hanging around?
Yeah.
Well, it's available right
Oh,
now for
yep.
the win. As that'll be 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. All you
Yeah.
gotta do is level up the talent. This town ain't big enough. Bounce the Heartfire Hero and anything else. And Scott's got game
Yeah,
on here.
just taps him down with the Kaito there.
Yeah, or this, you know,
Yeah.
pick your
Pick
way
your
to
poison.
win here.
How would you like to press the advantage even further?
Exactly.
Reef, Mill, Drowner, Siren, Otter, everything just swinging in. And Scott McNamara at 1 pulls it out the bag there. Jeez. That was
Yep.
cool.
A nice game for sure. You know, Scott definitely fought back. That Overprotect
Yeah.
was really awesome, getting over the Curiosity and just creating a bunch of damage. But I was just about to say we'll probably see those taken out, but we see one in hand from Matt. Values the +3/+3 and trample more than the little bit of awkwardness with nowhere to run.
Yeah. Paw Patch Hero to kick things off here for Matt Sikkink Johnson is going to look for an explosive start with Emberheart Challenger in hand. It's going to curve out quite nicely on the other side of things. Scott McNamara also starting things off very well indeed with Storm Chaser's talent.
I'm at 18.
Yep, ideal starts for both players. Paw Patch is such an annoying card to deal with when you're playing against it. You know, the fact that it even triggers itself when you go to kill that one. So it's a really tough one for these Dimir decks to deal with.
It's a good Widow Wabbit.
Yeah.
Otter getting frisky. And that's just going to take 1, passes the turn back, holding up 2 mana, has the Drowner in hand, as well as this town ain't big enough.
Yeah, an aggressive attack, but I guess when you have Drowner, it's not so bad. You really don't want to drown too much, though, as that will grow Matt's creatures.
I hear you can only drown once, Corey.
Yeah.
Yeah. After that, it's a little touchy.
That's fair, that's fair.
Oh boy, Emberheart Challenger number 2 hits the board. And, you know, we could just see a tap 1, block the other. I assume Matt wants to get in
This
here.
one, so this one will end up with the stun counter. I'll have a paw patch trigger. I'm gonna target this. I'll get a Valiant trigger.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty brutal there.
Yeah, never mind. It's a bigger boy now, so
Yeah.
gets in for 3 free damage and gets to see extra cards.
Yeah, there's really nothing you can do with Drowner there that would have been great unless Matt attacked with everything. You could let Matt attack and then you could drown the Paw Patch. But you have to target one of their
Yeah.
things, so no matter what, they're getting a counter. So it ends up being pretty awkward no matter what.
Yeah.
I love Underground Rivers.
Aside from him,
He's like, I love Underground Rivers.
That
Has
tickles
drawn a
me.
lot of them.
I'll take a point. 14.
I love watching how different people play Magic. It's just
Play,
wonderful.
which is gonna be-
Absolutely.
Oh, nice.
That's the
gonna-
one with the counters on, right? Yes. Those stuns? Okay.
Curse
so I'm
thing.
gonna put the counter.
This is one of the new additions that Scott added. Didn't have this when his team initially
Sorry?
You should have a lower counter
kind
or
of broke
just
this
higher?
for the Spotlight
Which
series.
is Vanity.
Never even heard of
So
that.
destroy a critter, and then makes a food, and then can make a Wicked Roll token. I mean, it's kind of just a 2-mana kill thing.
Yeah, but the one thing that is kind of spicy with it is you can get that food for Chapter 2, and then if you this town it back,
Yeah.
now not only are you bouncing a removal spell like Nowhere to Run, but you're getting that food that lays around. And if you keep that
Yeah.
kind of thing going over and over, it ends up being quite strong.
Yeah, that is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And perfect against the aggressive matchups where they typically don't go over 2-mana creatures.
Exactly, and some of them have reach. We don't see a ton of that. There's one Burst Lightning in the sideboard, but anytime you can kind of get out of range of some reach spells,
Yeah.
once you've already gained control of the actual battlefield, then you feel really good against these Gruul decks. But yeah, this is a matchup we're going to see a lot at this Pro Tour, is these either Esper or Dimir Bounce House decks
Yeah.
up against different Gruul variants. And the thing is, yeah, they might be the 2 most played decks, but they are incredibly awesome. It's an incredibly awesome matchup.
Yeah.
It's always very close.
Restless the Giant. That's fine.
It's nice seeing all the tiny little decisions and inflection points in this matchup as well.
Food.
As Matt deals with the Drowner on board, courtesy of Torch the Tower, gets some more damage. So Scott down to 11. Matt's sitting still pretty comfortably at 14.
Yep, absolutely. And now I know we had land 4 and another Underground River. Gotta love it. Scott's absolutely loving his Payne lands here against Gruul.
Absolutely.
And then a
Good thing he's
couple.
got food, huh?
Exactly. And then a couple this town ain't big enough, so you do have the option of, this town ain't big enough, bounce a challenger proactively, bounce your vanity, replay it, kill the other creature, or you take it a little slower, and on Matt's turn, you can play 2 this town ain't big enough, bounce your 2 enchantments and the 2 creatures.
I'm going to target Paw Pet Recruit and Witch's Vanity.
I like this.
Trigger. So my
Okay.
compact trigger will trigger this, and then I'll have a Valiant trigger.
Okay.
Okay, exile, another Torch.
And so let's see.
Giving
Your
back
prowess
a
trigger will be
Paw
underneath
Patch
the
with
stack of my triggers, right? So
Offspring kind of hurts.
I don't know.
on his turn, right, his prowess trigger will go on the stack underneath my Paw Patch trigger.
Abnap.
Then my Paw Patch
Active
trigger was
Fire
all
on
the small
it.
distance.
Yeah,
on the
yep.
stack.
I would think that is
turn, right?
correct.
Correct.
Yeah, so yours go on the stack first.
Okay, so this is still a 1/1 with the prowess trigger on the stack.
Yeah, so you play this, that trigger goes on top of this, then this trigger went on there. So you-
Yep.
So,
So
yeah. What he's
that
asking
is
is this was
important.
revealed while this is still at 1/1, right? Okay, great. Okay.
That is important. Scott doesn't have a 1-mana spell to play anyways right
Yeah.
now, so it's not going to be relevant, but
Yeah,
Matt
totally.
will torch the
So is this
tower
prowess trigger still in
with
stack?
it on the
It's still on the
stack.
stack, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, considering torching and spawns,
Sure.
obviously.
Yeah.
Out.
So nothing's targeting the Emerald Challenger. That's going to get
13 torch your otter.
large.
Well, the challenger is going to die to this
Correct.
Vanity
This is gonna be
right
okay.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gonna have to take a Payne for it for Scott with all these
take a point.
his favorite Underground Rivers.
10. This is destroyed. That is gone.
Bye-bye.
Now the one kind of cost to this is Scott did bounce a 1-mana 2/1 that can now Offspring, and it gets even more annoying. So it's brutal, but the Challenger is low-key the best creature, in these Gruul decks, and maybe just in the format right now. The value you get from a 2-mana 2/2 hasting prowess creature
It's
that
nice.
also pseudo draws you cards is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and he's been able to trigger its ability, the Valiant ability a couple times now, but
Yeah.
still hasn't found, like, I don't even know if he's playing them, the lands that target, like the repeatable target spells every single turn. But he's gotten so much value off of that card in both
Yeah,
games.
and that is just the name of the game with these bounce house decks. It is just value, value, and it's if Matt can make things awkward for him enough that he can, you know, push the advantage here. And there's really no card that makes your game plan awkward like this rabbit, like Pop Hatch Recruit.
Yeah, it's like, I would like to, you know where to run this creature, but now it's suddenly two things larger.
Yeah.
I'll get 2 counters here.
So here it is, 2 counters there, bounces it, replays it, and we're really seeing the power of this Witch's Vanity as, like, if this was a nowhere to run, it would have done the same thing as far as killing these creatures. Actually, maybe it wouldn't have even killed the challenger at one point. But look at these food that are left behind.
Yeah.
So Matt, with 5 mana here, is going to be able to eventually have some extra mana laying around, and will be able to just gain 6 life.
Pick a Manifold Mouse and play an Innkeeper's Talent.
Okay.
Mouse, Innkeeper's
Put a
Talent.
counter on the original mouse.
There's our repeatable target.
Putting it on the original to play around. This town ain't big enough, so you don't lose the token there.
Bunch of food.
So a little bit of tax now on the mice if Scott wants to target them. 6th land for a turn.
And Drowner and Enduring Curiosity. So it looks like, oh, easy, play these 2 cards, right? But with food, with the Storm Chaser's talent, you have so many options all the
2
time.
cards in my hands.
Now, the one thing that's scary is the Witch's Vanity. I was just talking it up how great it is. The fact that it's not nowhere to run right now and your opponent has an Overprotect.
Oh, that would be brutal.
It is pretty scary here. Things could work out very good for Matt with a gigantic attack.
Dramatic effects.
Soulstone Sanctuary.
I mean, yeah, this
That's
could
an extra
be
attacker on board.
this could be with the Innkeeper's Talent, putting a counter on this Manifold Mouse plus the Overprotect. You can just, you know, make this a 6-power double striking
Yeah.
trampler.
It's got the reef down there. Does have food as well to pad the life total.
Yep.
I think a Screaming Nemesis had to show up now.
Yeah.
Hee 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 hee. What food? Big think here for Matt.
We'll see how Matt wants to play this. It seems like when you have this much mana, you want to get a creature land going. But you can also boost up the Innkeeper's Talent. And this kind of forces the action now, as now this mouse does have ward.
Sure.
Move to combat.
Your triggers are going to go on the stack. Yeah, what are you going to do with your triggers?
So, counters.
So,
We'll go
beginning of combat.
target this here, and then they'll each target themselves.
Okay, so you're going to
Themselves double
put the
strike.
counter here.
Or
Okay. And then I'll let these triggers resolve. What are you
So
going to choose?
the counter's going to resolve first.
Counter's going to resolve, yep.
Okay, so check.
Counter's good.
I'll choose double strike for both.
You're going to choose double strike for both.
no need to trample over anything that's not there. Hey, Corey.
Yep.
One card.
One card, and it is about the scariest card it could possibly be in this
Okay.
situation.
You can go combat.
So looks like Scott is trying to block with one of these Restless Reefs or get the Enduring Curiosity in front.
Yeah. So it's going to be a reef jumping up here.
And it's not going to work out well for Scott, I'll tell you that.
It's really not. Oh, no, it's going to be the cat. So Enduring Curiosity joins the battlefield.
Now we'll see. You know, this could work out. You know, we all have perfect information watching this where, oh, Matt just plays this, perfect, you know. But Scott has a card in hand.
Yeah.
Matt doesn't want to get blown out here, so this could easily just be a, yep, you do your thing, save that Overprotect for a little bit later, even
Yeah.
though that would have been a game winner.
That
here.
was very, very disciplined from
It was. It was.
You know, because in most situations, I would say the majority of players
Yeah.
would have just jammed and been like, cool, let's see what happens.
Yep. Now, that being said, there's always the flip side of it. You know, if you play too coy and then Scott catches up, but with Matt having those 3 creature lands and the Overprotect, eventually, you know, he's not really running out of gas either, similar to the Dimir Bounce House never running out of gas.
Yeah.
So I like Matt's play a lot, even though it wasn't the quote-unquote correct one with the perfect information we
Yes.
know.
Go.
Witch's Vanity hits the graveyard. Another Storm Chaser's Talent brings out another little otter friend. Ooh, Manifold Mouse number 2? Oh boy. We've got a rodent
Great
problem
draw.
here, Corey.
Yeah, great draw. Now we'll just see if we want to play that or if you want to get a creature land going no matter what, the Innkeeper's Talent's always going to be getting 2 counters on something, so eventually this is going to take over. And one of the kind of techie things from Matt's list as well is the 4 Innkeeper's Talent. You know, that is usually not the most stock amount. You know, 3, 2 definitely can happen, but.
It's just nice how it does provide the snowbally effect.
Yeah.
As you know, as it stands, it looks like Matt is going to win this, and we'll get to see a game 3 between these 2 lists.
It is looking like it. Yeah, and the cost of these Innkeeper's Talent, they are great against these Bounce House decks. They're good in the mirror. They're a lot worse against Domain. So that's kind of your exchange as you go a little bit slower against these decks that are trying to Sunfall you and do those kind of over-the-top things. But in the mirror, in the Bounce House matchups, they end up being pretty nice.
And then I'm going to move to combat.
Sure. I want to say we kicked this Manifold Mouse, but no, it's an offspring. Gets a little buddy.
Obviously, all the Manifold Mouse triggers may as well trigger this.
Bring your baby to work day.
I'll trigger this with
So
some
all the
Bounce
triggers,
House.
so it's going to have Trample, Double Strike,
Double.
and be 5 power.
Before you go to attack.
Crikey.
And you don't control nor to run, right?
Yes.
Okay, I will
Surprise.
There it is.
Overprotect. There you go. And you saw Matt checking. You don't have a nowhere to run, right?
Yeah.
Just checking, because that would be a pretty unfortunate situation there indeed. As we go to game 3.
That was really well played by Matt. You know, we look at that one turn where he could have won a turn earlier, but why risk going for it there when he had it locked up no matter what over time? So a disciplined play, and Matt's an extremely great Magic player for sure. Always a good consistent gamer. As what, he went 10-6, 9-7 at the 2 Pro Tours last year?
Sure did, yeah. Made day 2 in both of them. Both of the 2 out of the 4 that he played in, so. Or he played in 2, and in those 2 went 10-6, 9-7.
Yep, absolutely.
So, excellent consistency. We hope to see him do well as Scott McNamara. You know, we want to be able to say, hey, look how well our Spotlight Foundations gamers did.
Yeah.
That's, you know, the Pro Tour.
Resolution, I'm going to pick up the map. Good.
Not the best thing to be
No.
bouncing back, but you know, got to do what you got to do. The curve out of going Storm Chaser's Talent into Fear of Isolation is amazing when you're trying to be proactive, but you don't always have it. And the Hopeless Nightmare plan against Brule, not ideal. You do sometimes still leave it in. But, you know, especially with seeing Obstinate Baloth in the sideboard of this deck, and probably a lot more decks that we're going to be seeing throughout the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
You sideboard that card out quite often.
We've seen a couple of Obstinate Baloths in places you wouldn't expect to find them.
Yes,
So,
yes.
that might pay
Sideboard
off
of
later.
non-green decks, that's
Yes.
for sure. Yeah.
That just shows you how much of an impact this bounce deck has made. You know, whether it be Esper Pixie or the Demir list or the Paragon list that we see the players from Sanctum of All playing.
Absolutely. Not as many Underground Sea or Underground Rivers this time, so Scott's got to be hyped about his chances here so far.
Chipping away here, getting some damage done, so might just be a good old face race here. Storm Chaser's Talent go for the throat. Fear of Isolation in hand here now.
And can just pick it up. I mean,
Jeez, nice.
this is a who is the aggro deck here,
Yeah.
as Matt's about to play a card advantage spell, and Scott is just going off here.
He's going ham.
Yeah, and that's the one way to, you know, play good defense is by playing great offense. And this is kind of the brick scenario, in air quotes, of Questing Druid hitting 2 2-drops.
Yeah.
When you're going into turn 3, you only get to play one of them. So this is the cost of the card. You can't always hit land 3 and a 3-drop or whatever. You know, there is a cost to it.
Yeah, you know, cards won't always play nice when you want them to.
Exactly,
So,
yeah.
tough choice here for him. What would you be leaning towards in his position?
You already have a challenger, so that makes it pretty tempting for the Innkeeper's Talent, but you also need a blocker. That being said, the Otter's the only ground creature right now, so I think I would lean the Talent and then look to torch the tower or something, but it is close.
So, Talent it'll be. The other Emberheart challenger goes off into the abyss.
And with Torch the Tower being a little awkward here, you can get rid of your own talent to deal with a Fear of Isolation. That doesn't feel great, so I wouldn't be too shocked to just see Matt proactively torch either the Otter or the other 1/1 flyer. being patient has its costs.
Yeah.
For sure.
Man, that is tricky. You know, doing this, he gives himself options.
Yep.
See where Scott goes with his turn here. Oh, nowhere to run. Drawn off the
Great
top.
draw.
Still Chaser's Challenge. We've seen that one. And go for the throat available.
And I mean, this is incredible. Has the ability to go for sure talent. That's going to be played no matter what. And now it's what do you want to cast? It's almost for sure going to be nowhere to run because there is Ward 1. Or I guess no, it's not leveled up. So there's not Ward 1. But.
So in response
Yep.
to
With
the cost, kill the little guy.
prowess trigger on the stack.
So, yeah.
I like that he got a different otter. You know, you got to.
Yeah.
So now has the option to proactively kill the creature. It doesn't matter that much as there's no ground creatures coming in, but yeah, get it out of here before there's any overprotect to protect it.
That's correct.
11 now is Matt Sikkink Johnson's life total. Finds a mountain. As a rock-faced village, lands aplenty, needs to not have any more of those from this point out, you'd think.
Yep. And here's kind of the combo. You know, I get to draw 2 cards every turn while progressing my battlefield, essentially, you know, making your creature bigger and bigger. But now it's going to be like, okay, do you got to hold back your challenger to block otters?
Yeah,
That feels bad. And there's a 4/4 creature land ready to go from Scott if he top decks a land. So all the advantage and the momentum in Scott's favor right now.
Absolutely. So Dimir Bounce doing what it is intended to do against this kind of aggressive deck.
Yes.
And Gruul Mice, so Scott's going to be pretty happy with this.
Yep, that's the ideal thing from these bounce house decks, whether it be Dimir or Esper. You want to get onto the battlefield early and then back it up with removal spells and tempo spells. If you're just answering the Gruul's creatures, you know, as they come into play, but you don't have a battlefield, eventually Gruul has the ability to draw out of it. You know, with questing druids, with the Valiant triggers off Emberheart challengers, it's not your granddad's Gruul deck, that's for sure. It has a lot of play to it.
Back in my day, we used to play giant spiders.
Exactly. It had reach and we liked it.
Looks like we're going to be leveling up our class here and getting in some damage. A paltry 3, though, unfortunately, so Scott goes down to 17.
Yeah, and really nothing in hand here from Matt besides this torch. The torch is great, but not amazing by any
We'll
means.
respond to you fast with the torch from the other.
Okay, so Otter taken care of once again. These birds, they just look like they're going to fly away with the game here.
And there's no fear of being isolated here as these 2/3s are flocking together.
Boing,
and
boing, boing.
what an incredible draw. You get another 2-mana 2/3 and a removal spell.
Jeez.
Big game.
Absolutely smashed it. Did Scott McNamara with those pigeons.
Yeah.
I know they're not pigeons, but damn, they did an excellent job there of closing it out. And like you mentioned, it's just about getting pressure and reactive spells.
Yeah.
Keep them on the back foot, and that is not where the Gruul deck wins from.
Yeah, and you know, when I was talking to Scott, he was like, okay, it is a little bit of a cost to play Dimir as in the mirror match against Esper Pixie. It isn't necessarily favored because those Esper Pixie decks can go so wide. But up against Gruul, you do get a little bit of an advantage. You get more removal instead of, you know, the Pixies and the Scavengers and stuff like that. So, yeah, good deck choice so far from Scott.
Well, we'll be excited to see how it serves him for the rest of this tournament. We're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, it will be Gray Payne versus Lou. See you soon. Welcome back to coverage of Pro Tour Aether Drift here in Chicago, Illinois. It is cold as heck outside, so I'm very glad to be in here, nice and cozy, in the booth, alongside Corey Baumeister, while everybody else out there gets to go and have fun and do cool magic on stuff, and I'm a little bit jealous, so I won't be too salty about that. How's it going, Corey?
Indoor fun, though.
Indoor fun. Yes.
It is cold. You are right.
Indoor fun, endorphins.
There you go.
There's a joke there somewhere. The next players, however, my friends, are no joke because, again, these two players we're going to be showing you, Gray Payne and Yuchen Liu, both did excellently in, Gray Payne did excellently in our Spotlight Foundations, making the top 8 and absolutely crushing it. And this Domain Overlords deck is probably one of my favorite, Corey.
Yes, yeah. It was so fun to watch her make the top 8 of it. Played Domain at that event as well. So you can definitely tell so far our two gamers from Spotlight Atlanta keeping true to their deck and, of course, making some changes for the metagame. And I'm excited to watch her play this deck again.
Yeah, this list is so sweet. Like, I love the Overlords.
Yeah.
Up the Beanstalk doesn't seem like a fair magic card. It's just gotten some new tools to play with. But interestingly enough, in Gray's list, no Ride's End.
Yeah, that is interesting. That seemed like the kind of slam dunk card that would be put in here. But she decided with some other cards, Pest Control, there's Ancient Cornucopias, as well as Day of Judgment. So one thing that we're going to see a lot from this standard metagame is this big 3 that Monty was talking about at the desk. It is this somewhat rock, paper, scissors, you know, where it is kind of one deck is favored against the other. And Domain does struggle a little bit against Gruul, but kind of beats down on the Bounce House list. Bounce House beats the Gruul. Of course, such minor differences, and the cards that are changed within their list can very much affect those. That's kind of the broad stroke thing that we're going to see.
As things get started here, Yuchen Liu is on to a pretty good beginnings of the matchup, as we have a Hard Claw now with a 1/1 counter on it, courtesy of Innkeeper's talent.
Yep. And there was the pass. There is 3 Elspeth Smite in her main deck, and this is, of course, an open deckless tournament, so it was like, you know what? I don't want to risk it. And who knows, if she had it, it would have been awesome. It was like, no, I don't have it. I just want to play this Plains. Just to keep you guessing.
Love it. Now let's see, do we have the ideal turn to play of Up the Beanstalk? We sure do. So Gray Payne is going to draw a card. And from this point on, anything basically, the Overlords, whatever in this deck, are going to start drawing cards. And that's the reason also why it's so good against the hand disruption decks.
Yes.
Esper Pixie and the like.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're discarding the Hopeless Nightmare, but you're drawing 2 cards or 3 cards a turn, you're like, yeah, I got extras.
I didn't need this anyway.
And she did have the Elspeth Smite in hand, so a great play to not attack in there. And now if you boost up these creatures, you know, over the course of the next 2 turns, they can both get to 4 toughness, so excellent play.
This is going to be pretty tough indeed now, because one thing that this Domain Overlords deck does pretty well is gains a bunch of life courtesy of Zur the Enchanter. Excuse me, Zur Eternal Schemer. But Screaming Nemesis is no.
Yep.
So, let's keep that in mind, friends.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't know if we'll get to a Zur activation of an Overlord, but hey, one can dream.
If we get there and there's not a Screaming Nemesis emblem essentially on the battlefield, the game usually ends on the spot, but we'll see here. So not the best start there for her turn 3. Just getting this. Yeah, you can have, even if you have a couple Elspeth Smites, it's just okay. I saw a Leyline Binding in her hand as well, but not able to cast that as that. Well, it would cost 5 right now because there's only a Plains, so a rough spot so far here from Gray to start.
Yeah. Passes the turn back to Yuchen. Going to level up the class, so Innkeeper's Talent, now providing ward to everything with 1 counter on it.
Yep, and a nice play from Yuchen to force the action now. And we do have some things available. Get Lost is probably the card that seems to be represented right now. Because if it's just Elspeth Smite, there's right now nothing Gray can do to this attack with the ward 1. Otherwise, you could double Smite or something, but as it stands, it's just going to be a huge beating right now from Yuchen.
Yep. Too much toughness on these critters, so there's a lot of damage going to come through here now for Gray.
Yep.
Take 7.
Ooh, that hurts. Bye-bye off my life total. Ouch.
Just 7.
Just 7.
But now Day of Judgment can come down, and
Sure.
you know, things can definitely be. Oh,
Oh, no, we got a Witch Stalker's
Yes.
Frenzy after combat, hitting the Nemesis and dealing the final blow to Grey Payne. That is a sick interaction.
yep, it's a beautiful interaction because you can wait until the damage is already dealt and then end of combat. And by the way, that's a one of fun of. Why play more when you just draw the one?
It's
you
the
know?
pro tour of
Yeah,
Bitcoin,
yeah.
not the amateur.
Yeah, very true.
The pros get their one-ofs.
There we go.
That was sick.
That was awesome.
Alrighty, game 2. Grey is on the play. So, sideboards, what do we change here for this matchup?
Yeah, so Gray's matchup will get better. You get to get out some cards you don't want. You get to bring in Elspeth's Smite, maybe Pest Controls if you want to go down that avenue. Split Up, as well as there's a couple of Obstinate Bayloss. And then 2 Authority of the Councils. So has some good upgrades, but her list is pretty geared towards being good against aggro already. But, you know, all that being said, it is still a bit of a tricky matchup to begin with.
And there's a Nemesis in hand there for Yuchen. That's rough.
But no one drop. That
No
was
one
kind of the
drop,
main thing. So Gray's got to be feeling great about that.
Deciding where to go with turn 2 here. Heartfire Hero hits the board.
Right on time.
You cheeky little mouse. You're supposed to be my 1-drop, man.
Yeah, the combo of that into Manifold Mouse or Innkeeper's Talent
So
of
brutal.
getting it going is great.
Hey, Overlord number 1 of this matchup so far. Overlord of the Hauntwoods going to help ramp Grey Payne into some ridiculous turns, no doubt.
Yeah, and the green Overlord is basically the glue that holds Domain together.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many times where your Leyline Binding is going to cost 4 or 5, and then you get Overlord of the Hauntwoods down, and when it costs 1, it really changes the game. And wow, just a monstrous rage.
Monstrous Rage, nice.
That's aggressive, but when you are, that would tell me if I was on Gray's side that, well, you know, my opponent is flooded with monstrous rages. At least has one. You know.
You can never have too many rages, apparently. Land for turn here for Yuchen, Liu, and Innkeeper's Talent to just make this little mouse not so little after all.
Yep, and Yuchen did have the option to either play Screaming Nemesis or get this bounce here. This is 1 less damage, but it's not overextending into a Sunfall or a Day of Judgment.
Yeah. It's kind of a tricky game you have to play as the aggressive player. You know, you can't overcommit to the board, but you also can't go all in on one creature. So you have to find this, you know, little balance here.
Yep,
Trying to predict what your opponent is going to kill your stuff with.
Absolutely.
How many cards in hand?
4 cards in hand. One of them's a Nemesis. Got a couple lands there, I spied.
And both of these players playing in their very first Pro Tour, which is very exciting. Yuchen did qualify through an RC top finish, so big congratulations on a perfect start for both of these players.
Absolutely. Hey, and your buddy doing super well too.
Yeah,
taking down Hall of Famers left, right, and center.
I 0-3'd my first 2 drafts at my first Pro Tour.
Hell yeah! Hey, you know what? You go to the Pro Tour.
Yeah,
It's a step above most of us.
Magic's hard.
Ooh, pest controlling. Uh-oh.
Okay.
So you take 5.
I believe so. I just want to double check. Since the Monster Vault token dies, it would be reduced to 4, but they're dying at the same time.
Yeah.
Does it trigger? Is the question.
Yeah,
pretty sure
that's
it's
an
5, but I
interesting
wanna
interaction. I think it's still 5, but I'm not 100% sure either.
Control is resolving the Heartfire Hero and the Monster Token.
So I believe it checks last known
How much damage
information.
the Heartfire Hero deals as the Monster Token is destroyed at the same time.
But I would have called a judge in this situation as well.
Me too.
Judges are your friends. So if you ever have any question, of course, double check how things work. And, you know, then you get to learn throughout the tournament as well. This is a very strange corner case situation for sure.
Are destroyed at the same time, so it will look at the last known information of the creature when it left the battlefield.
Okay. So it would be 5 damage, and I'll do it again.
Ouch. Still, that's a very painful removal spell, but at least
And I will move down step.
the hero is dealt with.
Yeah, and that's the difference of pest control versus a leyline binding there.
Yeah.
You know, like save 5 damage.
Oh,
save
yeah.
a fourth of your life total.
Well, that could be crucial. And
Very
now,
much,
if
yeah.
Yuchen follows up here with the Screaming Nemesis, like, Gray doesn't even have the backup plan of, I'm going to gain some life soon, hopefully.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if Gray, you know, has another way to deal with this. Like a Get Lost would make a lot of sense that Gray would want to start with the pest control. And with the, yeah, there we go. Wow, okay.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, I guess she is valuing having that instant speed interaction
For sure.
in case something like this happens. You know, I mean, it did end up being the same amount of damage that she would have lost. It's just the only difference is instead of a Screaming Nemesis under there, it would be the Heartfire Hero.
Yeah. Ooh, where's Zarin?
Woo!
Where's Zarin? Yes. I love this part. Watch, Corey, watch.
I bet Gray loves this part as well.
We get land, we get life. This is wonderful. I'm so happy right now.
She is someone who has pointed to Zer's ability many times, as we saw it a lot in Atlanta.
You got to think this is a pet deck at this point, right?
I mean, whenever your pet deck is also one of the best 3 decks in the format, you got to just be like feeling great, and I wouldn't want to change my deck either.
Hell no, that's so cool. All right, now Zer can get chucked under the bus here if needs be.
But the damage is done.
Yeah, damage is done. Is there any creature in hand? Yeah. Okay, Questing Druid. Where do we go from here? Seek the Beast. Do we have a land 4?
Yeah, so there's Paw Patch, the Destroy Target Enchantment card. I can't remember.
Seiju? Or oh no, Paw Patch Formation.
Yeah. So that has the ability to take out an enchantment, but with Hexproof here from Zer, you don't have the ability to do that. So that is why Zer is so good. Is you have to deal with Zer and then whatever it animated, and most of the time you're just too far behind to be able to do that. So, yeah, that's trouble.
With a capital T. I mean, I suppose killing the binding to get the Nemesis back.
You can't.
No.
You can't because it has.
Oh yeah, because you animate that too.
Well,
it's a creature, right?
Yeah,
Enchantment
just has.
creatures.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just enchantment creatures. So she can animate the Leyline Binding, just didn't have the mana for it this time around. But is going to go seeking some beasts. And what do we find? I think we've found land. Okay, Paw Patch Formation going to take care of a flyer. So that's the first and easiest way to deal with this nonsense.
Yeah.
So Zer's off the board. No more lifelink on the Hauntwoods, Overlord of the Hauntwoods, but still a pretty big threat to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the brutal part is like it's step 1, you got to deal with Zer because Zer will create many more problems for you.
I will attack target.
Whee! And it stays a creature. That's the coolest part about Zer.
Gotta love it.
You know, a lot of effects are like, until end of turn. Nope.
Not Zer.
They didn't have enough space on the card to type that in.
Okay. Yeah, Zer is incredibly powerful. And you see that counter on it that is
another one.
An impending counter, you know, that will go away. It's not a 7/6 right now.
Oh, that is such a sick version. I opened the glitter one like that.
Yeah, those are nice.
Oh man, Yuchen is in a pickle here, as I believe we're going to wrap up this match at 1-1 here very soon.
Yeah,
this
and
game, I should say.
The Gruul deck doesn't play that well from behind. You do have 3 Paw Patch formations in Yuchen's sideboard, which I'm sure they all came in as they're great against Leyline Binding and Zer and all these Overlords. But yeah, when you got to deal with 2 threats still and you don't have a single piece of interaction in hand right now, it's going to be brutal. You know, we might have to just seek the beast to try to find one. And otherwise, Gray is just at too high of a life total where Yuchen can try to be like, all right, hasty threat, monstrous rage it, put a counter. You know, like, we're just not at that point yet. And Yuchen's facing down that lethal attack next turn.
Is that a Sunspire Lynx in hand, I think?
Looks like it.
So there's critters. There's also, you know, Questing Druid, not Questing Beast. Questing Druid, there's the Lizard in hand, so he's got blockers, but not a lot going for him.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the Sun Spine Lynx is, like, you can put that counter on it from the Innkeeper's talent, but then it just goes to 5 toughness, still trades with one of these 6/5s, but it might be Yuchen's best option here anyways, but then if Gray just has any piece of interaction, the game would end on the spot.
So one of the Overlords is a 6/5, the other is a 5/5.
Yes.
So you would be able to kill one of them and not die.
Yeah, exactly. If you can deal with one of them, you know, that's great, but it's not guaranteed because Gray can just, you know, cast some removal spells, push through.
Yeah.
And even if she has one removal spell here, we're pretty much done. Yuchen just has to really kind of think, okay, I can't play around too much. I just have to hope you don't have it
Yeah.
type of scenario.
Sometimes you just gotta get lucky.
Yeah, sometimes you just can't play around anything, and you have to accept that.
On your end, step. I'll flash in a late up binding.
All right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad, huh?
I will trigger War.
Binding on the druid.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that was on
Level
chapter
2.
2, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't on the card, so missed there.
Ooh, that is,
Unfortunate for Gray.
yeah, really brutal as the Ward 1 there countered it as that 2 dice was represented there, so slight misstep there.
A little unfortunate indeed for Gray, but shake it off.
Yep.
Move along.
Move to combat.
Sure.
I will attack with both triggers.
Some more everywheres.
We're fully everywhere up.
Oh, yeah.
Now we'll see if she has a follow-up here.
Yeah.
If not,
is a 5/5
you know,
one.
Yuchen
This one's
can
5/5,
stabilize
this
here over the course of 2 turns if that was Gray's only piece of interaction. So that ward definitely could change this.
Yeah. In that situation, had she seen the second chapter or second unlock, going for the lizard would have been the play then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it was just the dice was above it, didn't.
Just didn't register.
Exactly, yeah.
Walk like this.
So, 1 block apiece. Yuchen preserving his life total. 1 red mana is going to be tapped with Monstrous Rage on the stack. What does Gray have in response?
So has the ability to now trade, but then has the smite. Excellent.
Nice. So we'll exile it. Trigger again, pay for it this time with mana up. And that's nothing that Yuchen can do, so...
Yep, and that works out perfect.
Nice.
You know, this should be plenty to force a 3rd game here. Now Yuchen still in the same rough scenario. This next turn having to deal with 2 of these things, and that's if Gray doesn't have a follow-up here, which it looks like she's got something to go here.
Nice. Ancient Cornucopia, the only player playing this card here this weekend.
Oh, really?
It is
Okay.
Sweet, yeah.
Candy White Overload.
Yeah, really awesome.
So, quick read for anyone who doesn't know what this does, because we need to read it. Whenever you cast a spell's 1 or more colors, gain a life for each of that spell's colors, only once a turn. And it's also just a mana rock, so just another really good way in this list that's playing all the colors
Yep, absolutely.
to pad your life total.
Any Niv Mizzet gamers in Pioneer are going to know that card very well, as that's a nice one there.
What are the Mistmoors?
Yeah, so a couple more flyers. Really nothing Yuchen can do to come back from this. So we are going to see game number 3 between these 2 players.
Yowza.
16.
Ouch.
Yeah, just Yuchen, just covering all the bases. Is there any way
How
to be able
many
to survive? And
non-basics?
doesn't seem like it.
Does he? The Sunspine Lynx does damage when it enters, equal to the number of non-basic lands a player controls.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anywhere near enough. But yeah, I mean, that is, you know, that is something that gets to be
Imagine if
pretty
it said,
large.
Imagine if it said to each creature. That would be
Yeah,
disgusting.
that would be good.
I bet that's many wishes that's what it said right now, but not going to be able to get the job done here.
Yeah, I think just double checking, making sure there's no
4, 5,
outs.
6, yeah, 6.
And without any kind of
8,
sweepers, you know, that is really no way to come back. But now the biggest test, you know, for Gray Payne is being on the draw against Rule. You know, this is the game where it gets as lopsided as it can be in this match. You know, the play is so important against these 2 decks specifically.
I keep.
We'll keep it.
Just want to shout out the artist of that Yargle sleeve. It's phenomenal.
I do love it, yes.
All right, Claw to kick things off. Temple here for Gray. And does not like what she sees.
Do see the green Overlord in hand for sure. So you have that really strong turn 3 play, but when you're on the draw, sometimes it is just not enough.
Attacks trigger 2 damage.
to the 18.
Yes.
So this will be a big turn. I think, you know, if you can choose between interacting on 2 or playing up the beanstalk when you're on the draw against Gruul, I think you would most of the time want to interact. So going to be a lot of pressure on her hand to have one of those Elspeth Smite, which I think she has 4 post board. Yeah, so I mean, that's the card.
Yep.
Oh, that's a nice one too.
Authority
Yeah.
consoles. Haste be damned,
Yep.
Grey Payne says, as every creature now is going to give her a point of life.
So there is the Nemesis. So no matter what, it soaked up a good chunk of damage here. There's also Innkeeper's Talent I saw and Monstrous Rage. So Yuchen's hand is very strong, but this Authority is going to put a bit of a damper on at least the hasty 3/3's plan.
Oh, yeah.
But if Yuchen wants to play that 3/3, this is the turn to do it, where Grey can untap and play Day of Judgment or Sunfall. So, you know, this is a tough turn. This is really the big turn of this game. Do you want to get the battlefield even more wide, and then after you have 3 creatures, then start going tall, then start boosting up your Heartfire Hero with the Innkeeper's Talent? Or do you just want to start boosting them up now and be okay with 2 creatures? It is not an easy decision, that's for sure.
Innkeeper's Talent alongside a tiny mouse and a little lizard. So Yuchen off to a pretty decent start here with a Monstrous Rage in hand as well.
Yeah, so now Yuchen just deciding, do I want to get Ward? Does that even matter? Or do I want to aggressively Monstrous Rage? You know, Yuchen can deal 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage this turn if he wants to fire off the Monstrous Rage. And then diversifies the threats. You would definitely want a Monstrous Rage on the Claw, as the 1/1 counter can go on the Heartfire Hero. I guess you can switch those. Either way, you don't want to put both of them on one.
Yeah. This is a don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. So now this is on the Heartfire Hero for sure.
Gets 2 counters, courtesy of its Valiant ability.
Yep. So 5 damage coming in.
You have 17, then
Then
you
I'll
have
say 3, 4.
4,
So I go to 13.
13.
Down to 13 goes Grey. Yuchen passes the turn back.
Drop.
Thank you, Judge.
Yep, you can definitely just put that on the card. Avoid any confusion. There's another Authority in hand. That's kind of a brick.
How many cards in hand?
3.
There's a lot of pressure coming in here from Yuchen's side of things, so big thing for Grey.
Definitely.
She's just going to pass the turn back, and now Yuchen, where do you go from here?
Yeah, so as far as basics goes, it looks like we have 3. So Grey does have the ability to play Leyline Binding, but can't pay the ward. So that's an option. Get Lost, Elspeth Smite. A lot of cards, but I think if Grey had like Split Up or something, you know,
that
she
would be
would have
sick.
slammed it. But
Any consideration for binding the talents itself?
definitely a consider. If that's what she has and that's her only piece of
Yeah.
interaction, I would do that before combat. But not the best use of it.
Yeah.
And like if she has a Get Lost, I think I would rather Get Lost the Heartfire Hero with the Innkeeper on the stack type thing, but it's all contextual to what she has.
Big think here for Yuchen Liu. Both players trying to advance and maintain their undefeated record here at Pro Tour Ether Drift. It is round 4. We've had 3 awesome rounds of limited.
Such a great format.
It's
I love it.
This mouse is getting rather large.
So this was the land hitting the mouse.
Okay.
And the Innkeeper's Talent presumably going to Hired Claw, and Yuchen very much representing boosting up the Hired Claw with its ability here.
Gotcha, yeah.
But yeah, the binding before we go to combat.
Yep, just keep some damage off there. Down to 12.
And 8 damage coming in here, putting Grey down to 5.
5, 7. Show the 5.
5.
Jeez.
Go.
Do or die time now for Gray. Needs a board wipe.
Yeah, and even a Day of Judgment, which is the kind of on-curve one here, is not great because you just fall to 1.
How many cards?
3.
Jeez.
I know we had the Overlord, so if you have something like Overlord Land Binding, it's okay, but this Hired Claw is dealing a lot next turn as well, so a rough spot for Gray here.
Definitely. Like, blockers are necessary at this point. Like,
Yeah.
Overlord of the
Thinking a second.
Mistmores? Maybe? Is that in hand? Is that another
I think
Authority
that
of
was
Consuls in
I think
hand?
that was in hand as well. Yeah, Overlord, Green Overlord, White Overlord, Authority. That's the ones I saw for sure, and it looked like a cavern, but none of those really solved the problem.
Say a Cavern of Souls named Human.
Human.
That's reserve.
And I mean, that's great if she can get to next turn.
But there's a
4 on
Screaming
1.
Nemesis in hand, isn't there?
But with the Authority to negate that, that's not going to be a
True.
problem, but we'll see if there's any direct damage. Oh, the creature land
Oh, yeah,
there.
creature land.
Yep.
Hiding in the lands. Pounced on top of there. But yeah, Yuchen Liu doing an excellent job there. Played it, extremely well, extremely measured game there to pick up the win with the Gruul deck. And it's kind of funny. We've heard a lot of pro players say, I don't want to play the Gruul deck because there's too many decisions to make. And you could just see that from this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is a very difficult, aggressive deck to play. A lot of things you can do to it. But if you're going to play against Domain over and over, which, it's 15% of the metagame, that is one of your better matchups. So I think Yuchen is going to be like, all right, keep putting me against Domain and winning the die roll. Sometimes you need both, that's for sure.
Yeah, if you can't be good, be lucky, or be good, unlucky. I don't know.
There you
Something
go.
to that effect. We've got plenty more action after this break, so we will see you shortly.